Cricbuzz Live, just to discuss what appears to be a foregone conclusion, at least as far as this match is concerned, where it stood at the halfway stage. But no matter what happened, a lot will be discussed, including the fact that it was the Ishan Kishan show, playing his first ever game for the country. You wouldn't have thought so, just by his body language, by his outlook, by his stroke play, and by his confidence. But yes, let's quickly remind you of the numbers as this second T20 international finished. 164 for 6 did look a little bit lightweight as far as England were concerned. Jason Roy once again falling short of a half century and ended up becoming the top scorer. But from India's perspective, Virat Kohli, 73 not out of just 49 deliveries, just finishing off what Ishan Kishan started, and a little cameo from Rishabh Pant thrown in. England never really looked in the hunt to be able to defend 164. Well, we did discuss it on Cricbuzz Combox with Zaheer Khan, but I'm going to come straight to Michael Vaughan to get his thoughts on Ishan Kishan, because when a youngster comes in there and just blows it out the water, as a member of the opposition or a neutral, you've got to be blown away.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's not that England wouldn't have had information about Ishan Kishan, because they've had all the information from the IPL of where potentially you can bowl to him and have some success. I just like to see young players arrive on the international stage and just play and be themselves. And that's exactly what he did this evening in front of a big crowd. He just looks like a young player that's very excitable. He's got a lovely bat swing. You know, the way that he can maneuver that ball through the offside, through the onside, on the front and the back foot, the pull shots that he was playing, then he was launching them over mid-wicket. You know, he's a high-class player. I mean, when you're playing in the IPL under that amount of pressure, it's not that big a step to then play T20 cricket for your country, because you're playing against pretty much the same bowlers that you do in the IPL. You're used to the noise, you're used to the crowd, you're used to expectation. You know you have to deliver in the IPL. 2 or 3 bad games in the IPL and you're gone. That's the nature of the beast. So it's a real good training ground for international cricket. He's a fine player. We'll be seeing a lot more of him.
Now, Zaheer, Michael's given us a little bit of the technical side to Ishan Kishan and what we saw of him. But the other side that you don't see is what you have a privilege of seeing, is Ishan Kishan, the character in the dressing room. So I'm sure it wouldn't have surprised you the way he came out and the way he played, the way he expressed himself. There's just nothing ugly other than maybe those 2 tattoos.
Tattoos is a mandatory requirement these days if you're a cricketer. I guess, you know, every player you see on the field sporting a tattoo. But with Ishan Kishan, you know, he's a chirpy character. You know, he's a lively character of the field. Likes to keep things simple, but he's always up to mischiefs, pranks. You know, so that's something which a good character to have in the dressing room environment. But on the field, you'll see him transform, and you'll see that focus, and he's very quiet. You know, like all the cricketers, maybe a superstition or 2 here there, but nonetheless very focused on his game, very hungry for success. Wants to make his mark at every level of cricket he plays. So that's something which is exciting. What strikes me is that his 6-sitting ability. You know, that's something which he had shown as he's started playing IPL, and now consistently able to do that. You know, so that is something not often you find in cricketers, that power, and you know, that separates you from the rest. And then same case with Ishan Kishan. You know, you can clearly distinct. You can see the clear distinction there. You know, with his ability and how he's matured. I think what he used to do earlier was look to take on the bowlers very early on in his innings. The game awareness has gone up, and you could see the way he's rotating after he's hit a big 6. You know, you will see him not rushed with the next one, but to take his time. So the temperament has certainly improved as far as Ishan Kishan is concerned.
Yeah, he is a character. I'll tell you, the first time I ever met him was it was a festival game, a charity game. He had just hit 11 sixes, and went up to him and said, "Well done on that." He had no reaction. He said, "No. Have you ever done a bottle flip in your life?" He asked me, and I said, "Well, what's the connection?" He said, "Forget the sixes. can you do a bottle flip? So, Michael, you must try this at home. Just take a little bottle about that big and just flip it and make sure it lands straight. He did it 10 times in a row after having hit 10 sixes. So that's the kind of character he is. He likes to try new things, do different things, and he'll always surprise you.
Yeah, I mean, those kind of characters are great for the dressing room. They generally play in a similar vein. They go out and play in a similar kind of cheeky fashion. But you've also got to have if you're going to be cheeky, you're going to be a character. You've got to have the game to match, and he's certainly got that. It'll be Rohit Sharma and Ishan Kishan opening the batting for India in T20 cricket. I mean, it's a great partnership. It's the Mumbai Indians partnership. I said a few days ago, Zach, that just play the Mumbai Indians as many as you can possibly get into the side, and India will be better for it. Well, Ishan Kishan on his first time out in the middle just showed everybody and the world stage. I guess what he has to cope with now is that more people around the world will be talking about him because he's done it in the blue jersey of the Indian side. But from what he's done in the IPL to what he's done on his debut, we'll be seeing a lot more of those little fancy shots and that power for the size that he is. He's a little pocket rocket. He gets a tremendous amount of power with the hand speed and the timing. A beautiful player to watch.
Yeah, certainly is. Comes from that same school of the under 19 school of 2016. Does Ishan Kishan, where he was the captain. In fact, got himself a little bit of bad press for a speeding ticket, but nonetheless, those things are forgotten. As long as the only speed that he does is off the bat. But one man who's not part of that particular franchise, Michael just mentioned, Virat Kohli, but so much talked about him pre-show today, talked about him across the nation. 73 of 49. And the good things I hear about that particular innings is early on, he was happy to let Ishan Kishan make the running. He was happy to let anyone in the opposition, even when Pant came in, he was putting an arm around him and saying, oh, come on, okay, that's fine, well done. Maybe calm down a bit, but he did the job.
Absolutely, I think he'll be very happy. And the stat which you're showing actually before the match started, you see that stat still has not changed. You still have Virat Kohli scoring that 50, not really scoring that 100. But that's what I was talking about. He's someone who has been consistently getting those runs. Yes, the big score will happen. What surprised me today was the tactic from Eoin Morgan as well. You had a wicket in the first over. In the first match, the pace of the ball has worked. Rather than bowled with the new ball in the power play. So maybe he missed that trick today. Maybe he could have used that spin option in the first 6 when you saw Virat Kohli taking the bowlers on with those short pitch deliveries which he was peppered with. Apart from that really allowed Virat Kohli to get in the innings. He was comfortable and the class player that he is. If you give him that kind of opportunity, he's always going to capitalize on it. So that is something which a lesson for the English captain. But Virat will be very happy that he got that score which he wanted. He got that form which he was looking for.
Yeah, certainly the toss would have played a little bit of a part. It gave India the comfort to chase. Virat Kohli was in a comfort zone. Washington Sundar further reiterated, Michael, that it was a good toss and certainly a better surface. But do you think England could have done anything different with that 164 on the board with ball in hand?
No, I think Zach's right. Maybe bowled Adil Rashid a little bit earlier in that power play. He's had a good record against Virat Kohli in particular, so I'd have thought they might have wanted to use him as soon as Virat went out there, but they were probably worried about Ishan Kishan hitting him with only 2 fielders outside of the circle, so it's very difficult to get that right. They bowled around the wicket. We saw Thakur in particular bowl, kind of cutters into the surface wide of the kind of off stump to the left-handers, and England were having to kind of fetch it. England were bowling it from around the wicket and still bowling the cutter, but that's kind of in the left-hander's arc from around the wicket. They weren't great in the field. I criticised India's fielding. When you see Ben Stokes drop a catch like that, I mean, just proves that he's a human being because he just does not drop those kind of balls. It is quite obvious that winning the toss is going to be quite important. The ball seems to skid on more as the game goes on. But you've got to find a way. You've got to find a way of being competitive. If you do get asked to bat first in the next game, somehow the teams are going to have to work out a way of getting to a score and working out some kind of tactics to make sure that you can defend it, because the World Cup in a few months' time will be very similar. The due factor will play a part, and teams around the world, it's becoming quite a common trend in T20 cricket that teams win the toss, they bowl, and they win quite a few games. So I think teams have got to find a way of making sure that they can be very competitive when they lose the toss and they have to bat first.
Yep, good point. It's going to be a season where there is expected to be dew, so this is certainly a good tune-up. And I think Virat Kohli even alluded to that at the toss. He said, yes, maybe we're looking to occasionally try things, probably alluding to batting first occasionally and seeing what can be done. But first priority, get the result, which they needed today, and they got it. Quick stat to add to Virat Kohli's achievements. First player to 3,000 T20 international runs. Brendan McCullum first to 1,000 and 2,000, but Virat Kohli first to 3,000. And certainly in the format with his average and his dominance, very few people you can look just behind him. Rohit Sharma not too far away.
Yeah, he's brilliant. I think today, I mean, we spoke about it in the first game that he just needed to be a little bit more selfish when he went to the crease. And I think Ishan Kishan did him a great service because he was hitting the ball to the boundary. It allowed Virat Kohli just to get in. When Virat gets that mindset of just playing orthodox cricket strokes, and he times the ball as well as anybody that I've ever seen, that shot that he danced down to Tom Curran and just kind of drove him down the ground for six was pure batting. That is the way that Virat needs to play, and that is the way that has got him to 3,000 T20 runs. And I'm not going to back against him getting at least another 3,000 because of the way that he can play. It's always great to see a legend of the game find form and just play with so much clarity, so much ease. England have an issue. If he finds the form that we know he can, England may have an issue over the course of the next three games, particularly if India win the toss.
Yep, certainly. And they know that they've got the depth. I mean, you had Surya Kumar Yadav, who didn't even get a chance to show his wares. Hardik Pandya got his outing with the ball, but not with the bat. So India know that they had that depth, even if they were chasing 180, 190, similar to what we said about England in that first game. But Zaheer, even for someone like Rishabh Pant, getting that opportunity, there was a little murmur that perhaps if you're getting these two Mumbai Indians players coming in, could Rishabh Pant be rested? But I think he kind of put his hand up and said, there, you try and rest me.
Well, he's carrying on from that form which has shown in Australia. That has really boosted his confidence, and it's showing in his batting, the way he is carrying himself, looking to take the bowlers on right from the word go. You've seen that power which was missing in the first one, or the talk which Virat was having in the press conference when he said they want to be aggressive. The game got ahead of them in the first one, but they kind of settled down now in terms of their thought process. The series is nicely placed now. One also, the next game is going to be the most crucial one. You'll have to see, because both the teams, when you look at them, they're strong enough teams. On their day, they can win matches convincingly, and it was important for India to show this kind of approach. I think the approach which Virat was talking about before the first match. They've brought it to the game today, and that is the exciting part. You have six hitting ability, which you've seen in England batting lineup. Now you can say that the Indian batting lineup is also looking like that. So I think the series is going to be pretty much decided on which team is going to outbat the other team. The balance of the series or how the series is going to go is pretty much going to be dependent on how the batters from both the teams take the bowlers on.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of the mental aspect, Michael. We're just going to try and eavesdrop on Owen Morgan and see what he said. But just one more line from Washington Sundar, who chatted at the end of the game. And one of the things he mentioned was, we didn't talk much about the loss because individually players knew what they had to do differently. So they didn't harp on it, they didn't dwell on it. But as professionals, they knew where they had to correct themselves.
Yeah, and I just think the trigger of making two changes and bringing in two high-class T20 players, all right, they've not played at the international stage, but they've been so successful in the IPL. I really believe that India have got a team that's developing. You look at bringing Rohit Sharma in, you add Rohit to the team, you add Jasprit Bumrah to the team, and you add Ravi Jadeja to the team. India all of a sudden look a very powerful team with plenty of six hitting options right down to number 9. Left and right in combination all the way through, all the different variables. Natarajan in there as well. So you've got your left armer, you've got your brilliance of Bumrah, then you've got a left arm spinner, you've got a leg spinner. You could have an off spinner in Washington Sundar as well. that are all of a sudden you start looking at those players that they can bring in to add to what they had today, and a few more Mumbai Indians. And I think India will be very, very strong come the World Cup time. They just need Zach, the director of cricket. Director of cricket.
Well, mind you, these players have been around for 3 years, and we are happy to say that their careers have shaped up nicely over the last 3 years. You've been putting me on the spot and under pressure, Michael. So I've been enjoying that. But the Indian team has got all the potential to go on and win this series now from here.
But it was a fair point. I mean, it was a point well made, and it was just proven almost right on cue that you had a Mumbai Indians player, a youngster, making his debut, coming in and making such an impact in Ishan Kishan. Surya Kumar not getting a chance to do it yet just because he bats in the middle order. But certainly plenty of positives for England to take out, to India rather, to take out going ahead. But just Zaheer, just to finish off on the entire run chase, India will also not want to get carried away by the fact that, okay, it was more a clinical run chase, much like England did. So one of the things they'll want to focus on is, let's assume we are put into bat, or we decide to bat the next game. How are we going to approach it based on what we've done today?
Well, I think they've got the spark which they're looking at. If you look at the start of the run chase today, the first over was Madden. They lost wicket of KL Rahul, so it wasn't like the most ideal start. But what they've realized is that two players have to go on to get that partnership, build it big, and that's where the platform is set. And once you are able to set that platform, things do get easier. And you have the likes of Rishabh Pant and Hardik Pandya later on to come and really make use of that platform, put bowlers further under pressure. So that is something which I'm sure they must have learned. So it's important that how Ishan Kishan started today with the kind of approach. KL Rahul also needs to join the party soon. He's had tough 2 games, but he's got all the numbers to back him. He's done it in the past. So it's all about how you start the innings. I think that start is so crucial in this format. It's very difficult when you play against a strong team to then play that catch-up game. You don't want to be playing that catch-up game. You want to stay ahead of the game right from the word go. Batting or bowling, it's important that you set that tone right.
I'll ask you the same question, Michael. India, obviously, it's now 1-1. But both sides will mentally need to be prepared. You briefly alluded to it, but will mentally be prepared to try and do whatever it takes if they bat first, if they get the less preferred option, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, I think that'll be the key. Is can you win batting first? If you can win batting first, I think it'll give whoever can do that a massive confidence boost, knowing that you can do it the hard way. It's very obvious that the pitch does skid on a little bit more as the game progresses. I just look at someone like Moeen Ali, who's not played yet. Tom Curran came into the side tonight for Mark Wood. You would probably think if Mark Wood's fit, they'll go back to Mark Wood for the next game to add a bit more firepower. But Moeen Ali is such a wonderful T20 cricketer. Offers you a little bit with the ball, brilliant with the bat, good in the field. I'll be trying to get Moeen Ali somehow into that England team in Indian conditions. I think he's going to be very important come the World Cup in a few months' time. So I'll be trying to get him a game or 2 in this series.
Fair enough. That's all that we have to look forward to. That's the review of game number 2. Things stand at 1-1. But even though the venue is not going to change, we are expecting a slight change in surface. The third T20 International in a couple of days' time between India and England. This is going to take place on the Tuesday. And can things turn around? Dead level as far as the series is concerned. Michael, I'm going to start with you with a comment that Owen Morgan made at the end of game 2. Yes, of course, he was disappointed, felt they were on par or just below par, but he did mention he'd like to have Mark Wood back, but he also said the third game is going to be played on red soil, and therefore they're expecting a little more turn. I can see you smiling already. Get out to the back garden and change the soil out there.
I like the way you've come to me. As soon as you mentioned the pitch, you didn't go to Zach, did you? You went to the pitch doctor. Well, if it was going to spin more, Moeen Ali has to play. You've got to get another spinner involved. Mark Wood will come in for maybe Sam Curran. maybe Jofra Archer will get a rest. He's got a problem with that elbow of his. Who knows which way England will go? But if the pitch is going to spin more, they'll certainly need another spin bowler. So you would think that it'd be a good chance to get Moeen Ali in. I think Moeen's a fantastic cricketer. I think he, in T20 cricket, it hasn't been used that much in the IPL enough in the teams he plays for. And in English cricket, we just know that he's got the 6 hitting ability that you require. And with the ball in hand, he generally always gets wickets. So I'll be trying to sneak Moeen Ali back into the team.
Well, that's as far as England are concerned. Zaheer, if we have a look at India, it's been interesting. Shikhar Dhawan played the opening game, then was rested for game number 2. Ishan Kishan's come in and said, listen, this is my position. I'm not giving it back to anyone. So with Rohit Sharma possibly coming back in with being rested for 2 games, are you now looking at saying KL Rahul gets a rest?
Well, Indian team management has got some good headaches, so that is something which they'll be thinking hard. I wouldn't like to see KL sitting out for sure. He's a class player, has done it in the past. Yes, Ishan Kishan has grabbed the opportunity very nicely right now, has given you hope, has shown what kind of energy he can bring to this playing 11. With Rohit coming back, you might see the shift in the batting order. Or you might see Surya again going out or something like that. Because you would want that continuity in the side and in the selection process. So Rohit coming back certainly going to boost the morale of the team. But in terms of who goes out, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what kind of thought process team management has been using. Natarajan is actually another name, which I'll be really keen on seeing. His fitness status, whether he's available, not available. Apart from that, I think Indian team will stick to the similar kind of approach. They will go a bowler shot, just go in with 5 bowling options and back them to do the job. If Rohit is back, you might see him turning his arm over because he's the only top order player who we know that can do that job. But for T20 World Cup, I think India should look at those kind of options to figure things. England team does have a lot of left-handers. If you get the top orders, right-handers quickly, bring the left-handers in the play, then you can have that option as well as the captain. Apart from that, I think they will just like to continue with what has worked for them so far. The series is level, so that's the exciting part. And the next 3 games should be exciting one.
I think India are taking a leaf out of England over the last few years. Just pack your team with wicket keepers. That's what England do. Butler, Bairstow, Sam Billings. Just pack your team with wicket keepers who all can whack it out the ground. It's it's a great headache to have. You're looking at if you're having a conversation, which Ravi Shastri and Virat Kohli will be having over the next 24 hours, of potentially leaving out KL Rahul. You've got a strong squad. You're in a good position when I know it's not nice on those that get left out, but when you're leaving a player potentially of that quality out of your team, you've got a very, very strong squad.
Yep. Well, we had some interesting little insights from Virat Kohli. One of them that he mentioned was that he had a chat with ABD and AB de Villiers sort of advised him to watch the ball, keep things simple. So nice to be able to get on the phone to somebody like AB de Villiers and he can just offer you advice like he needs any. But it's good to be able to feed off someone.
Yeah, I mean, and it's quite interesting that, whether you're advising a 15-year-old or someone like Virat Kohli, the messages are generally always the same. And it always stems down to, are you staring at the ball closely enough for long enough? And it's just a little thing like that it's not that you forget, but you kind of are watching the ball run up and you're kind of just looking at the periphery rather than really staring at the ball. And you stare at it so closely that, a player like Virat Kohli, if he's really concentrated and staring at that ball, he very rarely is going to fail. It's just a lack of just that concentration, that little bit. I can never quite explain what it is. It's just that little 1% that you just lack when you just have a few low scores. But it's always the case of when you get back to some kind of rhythm of play. It's going back to the basics, and the basics of batting and what you start as a young player is just stare at the ball as long as you possibly can and just let your talent and let your instincts take over. And I would pretty much be sure that's exactly what Virat Kohli did today.
Yeah, and he was at his cheekiest best at the post-match conference. This is not a tabloid headline. It's actually Virat Kohli himself who said, apart from ABD, my wife, Anushka, is also here and she keeps telling me things. So he's been listening to a lot of advice, Zach.
Keep things simple. Watch the ball. Hit the ball.
Do you think that's exactly the kind of thing Anushka would tell him?
Yeah, are you watching the ball? That's what. So while batting, what are you supposed to do? Watch the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
If only life were that simple, but it's good to have people who are your well-wishers, who can keep giving you different perspectives, occasionally distracting you from what's absolutely out there in the middle, and always good to have that. But word on Ishan Kishan as well. We've spoken a lot about him, but looking ahead, just, I think briefly from both of you, one of the things I just want to bring out there is, yes, he's come out there, he's played fearlessly, but now there's expectation. There's more expectation as an India player. So the real test, you would say, is how he deals with game number 2.
Yeah, I guess so. But, I don't have too many concerns of a player like Ishan Kishan because he's been able to do it in the IPL. It's exactly the same. It's the same expectation. It's the same pressure. I don't know what the environment's like with the Mumbai Indians, but it must be a good one because he just goes out and plays. He's consistent. To have consistency and still to be striking at 145 in T20 cricket, you're some player. He's going to have the odd trot where he doesn't go his way, and that'll be the challenge for him when he has that trot, particularly playing for India. And the headlines will be negative ones rather than the positive ones he'll get tomorrow. That pretty much says to you whether you're going to be an international player for a long period of time. Can you cope with that month or two where it doesn't go your way? Potentially you might be moved out the side. And have you got the mindset? Have you got the mentality? Have you got the drive to get back in? Young players are great when they come in because they've got no baggage. It's when you've had a little bit of baggage and a few negative times, it's how you cope with those times that kind of says whether you're going to have a long career at international level. But in terms of talent, in terms of his game, in terms of his mindset, for what I've seen in the IPL and now on his debut, we'll be seeing a lot more of Ishan Kishan. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's given credit where it's due. Obviously, the team management, his captain, they allowed him. They told him to go out and express himself. That's what he said. And also, Zach, at the end, he dedicated the innings to his father, who he lost a few days ago. So all in all, no matter what he might have had in his mind, he was clear that he was allowed to go and express himself.
It's important that you express yourself freely at this level. The first step he has taken is a good one. It's always a relief when you have that dream of playing for your country, playing at the highest level. Go out there and when you take that first step nicely, it's just about enjoying the game. You have to keep in mind that you have to enjoy that success as well. So I think if you have to tell anything to Ishan Kishan, then that's what one should tell him, that just enjoy this moment, enjoy your game, go out there and keep expressing yourself freely. And you could see the way Virat was also with him batting, just giving him that encouragement, asking him to enjoy that moment, soak in that atmosphere, soak in the success, and then keep doing well.
Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine an Ishan Kishan and a Rishabh Pant getting together and how they would feed off each other. But that's for another day, as and when it happens. For now, we'll look at a few questions that are left unanswered. In fact, the only question left unanswered for today, and that is our joy factor question. So we've actually made a little tweak, a little correction in the question, which was thanks to one of our many enthusiastic quizzers who came in there and answered the question. So let's quickly remind you of what the question was. First Indians to achieve this were Pankaj Roy and Vinu Mankad in 1953. We had also mentioned the second lot who did it in the 1980s, which was Vishwanath and Yashpal Sharma. And the last was Sachin Tendulkar and Rahul Dravid in 2007. What did they do? And name two other Indian pairs to achieve this feat. One was Vishwanath and Yashpal Sharma. The other, well, very topical, because probably we briefly alluded to at the start of today's show, the greatest comeback, and that's what it refers to. Trust Joy to make the question topical. Rahul Dravid, VVS Lakshman, who batted for an entire day in a test match without losing a wicket, which happened on this day in 2001. And let's quickly go and find out our winner, or our winners rather, because we had one winner, of course, who mentioned Dravid and Lakshman, but Tanmoy Chakravarti went one step ahead and said not just Dravid and Lakshman, but the first to do it before Vishwanath and Sharma were in fact Vinu Mankad and Pankaj Roy. So well done, Tanmoy. Future of the Quizmaster is intact for you, but congratulations to you as well for answering that. So it's all part of the fun of quizzing, because you try and put things in perspective, keep it topical, and that's the way we like it. Well, we're looking forward to yet another day of cricket on Tuesday. It's 1-1, everything to play for. And I think the one thing we're looking forward to is seeing who will be the first team to actually change the pattern. Bat first and maybe try and win a game. All that we save for Tuesday. For now, on this Sunday night, time to say thank you to Michael Vaughan, to Zaheer Khan, and to all of you for tuning in to Cricbuzz Live. We'll see you soon.